Hello, amazing artists. Today we're going to talk more about actually putting your album art together. So, as we've discussed before, you want to have some good imagery on your album cover, but a lot of our brainstorms have been focusing on the cover, but we're actually getting an entire album that needs to be designed. So when you are working on your artwork, you need to be thinking about not just the cover, but also the back cover, okay? So we've talked about and looked at lots of different album covers, and I will admit we probably have focused mostly on the front, but you can see in real albums, we've got the cover. It's beautiful. It's got the band name. It's got the album name. It might have information about the studio that put it out. It might have information about the kind of sound that you're going to get out of it. But also on the back, we have song lists usually. We have more imagery that is usually tied into what's going on the front. So you really want to think about both sides. So I have my album that I created here, and you can see I've got my front, but I also have my back, which is very interesting looking. It's got my song list, and you also have this spine here. And your whole design could be something that goes across both sides, or they could be two different related images. It kind of just depends on what you want to do. So if you are just in the lots of disjointed images brainstorm stage, you really want to move on to getting a good rough draft. And I have, if you want to get it brainstorming happening in the right size, I have some of these album, these CD cases available. We can absolutely trace them so that you can get the right size. It's about the same as a paper. Is that a coincidence? Probably not. That was probably so that they could just print it out on normal paper when they were putting albums together. All right. And I'm even going to make a space for my spine. All right. And so whatever you're choosing to do on your album, just remember that this side is actually going to be the back and this side is going to be the front, because it's going to close and open like a book. Okay. So if I've got my front, I want to make sure that I am thinking about my different typography, right? We looked at artists who create really cool designs using art. You want to using lettering, the art of lettering, that's typography. All right, so you want to really focus on what kinds of lettering you're using. You want to focus on what kinds of imagery you're using. How does it relate to your identity? Because remember, this band is actually just you. All right, so mine is going to be all about art, but that's because I am an art teacher and you are a kid who likes other things, baseball, soccer, I don't know. So you're going to make art that relates to you. And I am actually just kind of recreating this album. So I'm not, maybe this is a re-release. All right, so I've got Miss Leather and the Woods. All right, so it's the same album, but a different approach to it. So even if you've already got an idea, there's lots of different ways to do it. All right, now on this one, I just made a list, I painted, and then I just made a list of my different songs, but maybe, I don't know, maybe I want to do it a little bit more creatively this time. And I want to play around with how my song list is listed. So I've got thrift store canvas, art girl. Remember, if you're making up a band, often the title of an album also has a song that is related to the title. So that's an easy song to come up with. Also, don't forget, you can totally use pre-existing songs. Maybe your band is a cover band. Maybe there's a list of 10 songs that mean something important to you. You know, art school blues. So like making my song list kind of going like a spiral gives it a different kind of look, right? So then you want to think about colors and the colors that you're using. Do you want to use markers? Do you want to, all of the options are going to be available to you, will be out on your tables. We're not going to dig around in all the various centers for this project. So anything that you want to use is really going to be out at your table when we're moving on to the final copies. All right. And don't forget, your spine needs to have your album name on it so that when it's on your shelf, you can see what your album is without having to pull it out. Okay, so there's my rough draft. Now I'm ready to move on to my final copy. And I've got my final copy paper here. And this final copy paper might be a little bit on the big side. I had to cut it down to kind of a standard size. So when you're done with your rough draft and you actually have a front and a back and you've kind of colored it in and figured out what some of your colors are, and you're really ready to get your final copy paper. All right, it doesn't have to be perfectly colored in because it is just a rough draft, but do kind of figure out like what kinds of colors you're going to use. Are they all going to be warm? Are they going to be cool? I'm thinking I'm going to go for like a words are warm and then background is cool situation on this one. Anyway, once you've got all of that figured out, then take it to your teacher, have a conversation about your plans, and then you'll get your final copy paper. And you're gonna need to make sure that it fits inside your CD case. And you can see it's like just exactly perfect. So you're gonna wanna try to get it in there, and it's very likely it's gonna be just a smidge too big. You can see here it's kind of wrinkled. So if that's the case, you're gonna trim it down, really make sure that it fits in there exactly the way you want it. All right, so I just trimmed it down just a little smidge. See, not very much. All right, let's see. Does that work the way I want it to? All right, yeah, that looks pretty good, but it's a little bit tall, so I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna open it up, and I'm just gonna trim it just a little bit. All right, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but try to get it as straight as you can. All right, so. All right, so I'm gonna scooch it on in there, fold it, and I'm really gonna like kind of massage this part of the CD case to make sure that I get my crease for my spine, all right? And then this you can give back because you're not actually gonna need those until the very end. All right, so you can see I have a crease for my spine, and I'm actually gonna go in and crease it down just a little bit more, just so I know I don't lose it, like if it goes in my folder and gets flattened back out again. All right, and then I can start on my final copy, and you wanna be very light and sketchy when you're going in for your final copy, because this is it. This is your final paper. All right. So like my rough draft, maybe it seemed a little bit more confident, but that's because it was rough draft paper, whatever. But this is my final copy, so I want to be able to work it and rework it as needed. Going very light. And then when I know that it looks exactly the way I want it to, then I'll go back in. See, look, I just misspelled girl. That's what happens when you're not paying attention. But luckily, I did it super light. I don't even have any eraser on my pencil, so it doesn't matter. But I did it super light, so I can go back in and I can erase whatever I need to. All right. So, and then once I'm like, okay, that looks good, then I can go back in and I can make my lines more solid. All right. So, start sketchy when you're on your final copy. All right, and then you can go back in and make it look more solid. You can start coloring it in. So that's that. And this is gonna live in your folder while you're working on it. You're not gonna actually have your CD case until you're done. All right, so that is that. I'm gonna keep working. You are gonna go get to work and then we'll see where we end up.